back together in December to start really considering how should Scotland change to tackle the climate emergency in an effective and fair way. So I've got some of the people. I'm not going to run through the groups in order this time. I'm going to be a bit more random. Sorry if that makes it difficult for people, but I was going to start with group 9, and I think we've got Ellie who's going to be speaking on behalf of group 9. Just give you a little minute taster of what their group concluded there about what was important to remember.
Yeah, so I mean, what we've taken away, or what we felt we'd taken away from the weekend so far, was just how important it's going to be to change people's mindsets and their cultural norms to kind of move forward, and also how complex and diverse the problem is, and how challenging the solutions are going to be, how important it's going to be to get fully informed from the experts over the sessions, so that we're fully informed on the problem, to come up with solutions, and also how important it's going to be to learn from other countries, to develop best practices and innovative solutions to the problem as well. We might not have all the best knowledge here. The other countries might actually have some good ideas as well. So that was our take.
All right, so very much just sort of outward looking so that we can make sure that we're coming up with things that are going to be the best way forward for Scotland. So I'm going to come to group 10 now, and Noah, I think you're going to be feeding back on behalf of that group.
Yeah, we had a pretty similar idea. We thought, a lot of us thought before coming to this that the problem was almost too big to solve, and a lot of people are sort of overwhelmed by the gravity of the situation. But coming to this and getting the right information and getting involved and getting informed can help to solve it. But there's also not one universal fix for every country. You know, we thought we're all in the same boat, but we don't all have the same sized paddle, kind of thing.
I like that metaphor. Very nice. Thank you, Noah.
Thank you.
James, can I come to you now for group 11?
Yes, hi. We had a good discussion around the table. 3 points, main points that we took from it was consciously preserving what we have as a society, education and the ramifications of being a disposal society, and supermarkets to do more in the terms of reducing packaging, labelling, and sourcing local produce.
Okay, so really thinking about preserving what we need, but also starting to think, well, what are the things that are going to help us make change and enable things to be a bit different and better?
Yeah, we're trying to what Scotland can do rather than looking outside Scotland, really what we can do as a society in Scotland.
Great. Thank you very much, James. I think we've got Kirsten now for group 12, is that right?
Yep. Hi. So our group talked a lot about the conflict between the domestic versus consumption emissions, and what we do in Scotland, we need to make sure that we're not kicking the problem out somewhere else. So, however, it sort of ended optimistically, the fact that we're not starting from scratch. There's already innovative things happening around the world. There's evidence that even small things can make changes. Obviously, there will be some things that require more complex changes, but overall, we felt really optimistic coming out of the sessions this weekend.
Okay, that's good to hear. Thank you, Kirsten. We've got Lewis, I think, for group 13.
Yeah, so similarly, our discussion we had in our group made us feel quite hopeful, because the last presentation showed us that there are things that we can do and that are starting to already be done. And we were thinking that the next step is to kind of make those solutions more mainstream, get them out into education or advertisement if they're products or services, and that'll allow us to really get on with what we have the power to do in the short term, and it'll also make it more easy to plan for solutions we can implement in the long term.
Okay, so it's great to hear people are already thinking about what are the short-term things we can do, but also the bigger things, the long-term, that will help us sustain that type of differences. Ruth, I think Ruth was going to be feeding back from group 14.
Yep, hello. So we've had quite interesting discussions, and not everyone were necessarily agreeing with each other. Different opinions were brought up, and But overall, there were lots of information and learnings over the last 2 days, and information like what targets are and where the targets are coming from. And also the discussions are so wide in scope and the breadth of the various topics. So we kind of have high expectations of what is going to come in the next few months.
Okay, great, thank you. And yeah, it's great that we're actually able to have these conversations with people who may think differently to us and can open up different ideas that we might not have considered before. Abigayle, did you want feedback from group 15?
Hi there. Yes, our group had a really good discussion, and we particularly honed in on actionable changes. In particular, what we were looking at was main driving forces and uptake, and we came away with incentivising positive changes across industry and in communities as well. And we looked at real-world examples, such as passing on price cuts in biobuses using donated recycled biofuel. So we all come to the decision that it was really key to have like a carrot dangling at the end of that for everyone.
Okay, so again, really looking forward to solutions and things that can make a difference, and that idea of, we need some incentives as well to actually move things forward. So I think we've got Ellie who's going to be feeding back from group 1.
Yes, we had some really interesting conversations similar to the other groups. We felt a bit overwhelmed at the beginning of the day by concepts of sea level rising and how we can mitigate that. But then we felt that we could break the myth that we can't change or change is too big a concept. And just looking at things like a third of food waste, we thought that's something tangible that we can really make instant impact or policy to mitigate. And then, we talked a lot about awareness of the impacts that we have as a country on the rest of the world. And we really like to discuss the concept of being global citizens and how making conscious decisions in our consumerism and how that impacts on other countries, and just being more aware of our individual personal choices in consuming.
Okay, so already looking forward again, both at that sort of global citizenship, but also where individuals are. For group 2, have we got Kapola there?
Hi there. Our group, we came away thinking that change is quite possible. And not only that, from the evidence that we got from the experts, we have the tools and both the technology to be able to effect positive change. And we particularly honed on the fact that if we change the mix of renewable and other energies that are coming through, we would be able to effect that change. And also we were talking about us as individuals, the choices we make will contribute to being able to change the climate as it is, and providing education to individuals and better informing everybody so that everybody can be brought into the table.
Okay, great. So again, we're looking at both those individual and those bigger structural and system changes when we're looking forward. Annie, were you feeding back for group 3?
Hi, yeah. So we've got lots of points, but I'll just read a few out. So we had key points on green spaces, urban developments, travel integrated public transport system, more hydro schemes, renewable energy, and responsibility going forward with planning and how we can offset our carbon footprint. Also about thinking about ways of improvement without putting anyone at a disadvantage. We spoke about the economic effect this is going to have on Scotland. So people's jobs, what's it going to cost us? If you don't take people with you, it's not going to work. I think that was it mostly.
Yeah. Well, look, we can't sum up a whole 2 days worth of conversations, but it's really just 1 or 2 key points. So thanks, Annie, that's great. We've got 5 more groups now. So hopefully, we're starting to see some themes emerging. So is it Vita? I think we've got you for group 4.
Yeah, hello. We had a great discussion today. We had folk from all different areas. So we had folk in the cities, in the forest areas, and on islands as well. So loads of different viewpoints coming across. But the main points we focused on throughout the day was that we would like to see more localized everything. So from the produce people are eating and buying, and from the way things are being done in regards to funding. So seeing funding coming through into the smaller communities. The things that we found worrying or want to learn more about the issues with are deforestation and also carbon capture and storage. But by the end of the day, we loved Dave's presentation and found it really inspiring, and we had a really good conversation with him in our group about how exciting the concept of blue carbon is, so we can't wait to hear more about that as well.
Okay, great. And we'll be definitely bringing some of these topics going into a bit more detail on some of these big topics, and particularly in relation to Scotland. Group 5, we've got Ellie feeding back.
Yeah, thanks, Kaela. So group 5, we covered a lot of stuff, but we kind of figured out that our key point to feed back at the end was about the need for kind of strong leadership from the top to really educate people in Scotland about everything that the Climate Assembly have been learning this weekend, and really communicating these issues to people on the street, and embedding it in education for children, and just making the whole population more aware of these issues and what can be done.
Thanks, Ellie. Definitely that idea of spreading out. You guys have said you've been learning and thinking so much today. Giving others the opportunity to do that as well will be important. Dan, we've got you for group 6, I think.
Hello. Yes, I've somehow managed to get myself nominated again since yesterday. Yeah, no, it was great discussions today. I think everybody in the group learned something new, and there was a general, similar to the others, general feeling that there is a belief that Scotland can change and can make an impact by the end of today. All the ideas and evidence that was presented from the evidence teams, there was nothing in there that we thought we couldn't do or we shouldn't do. But maybe if, kind of a bit of a feeling of maybe that if it's left up to individuals, it's maybe a bit of an overwhelming change to make on an individual basis. So again, change has to come from the top. Maybe we talked a bit about, countrywide opt-out schemes rather than opting in to whatever the new ideas are, and sort of getting everybody to, try and do it en masse rather than one or two people, having incentives to small dribs and drabs. It just seems too important to make the change too slowly. So yeah, what else did we have? Great. Everything was good. Yeah.
Okay, that's great, Dan. And the idea of the strong leadership and how it all contributes to enable people to be able to make some of those changes as well. Dave B, I believe we've got you for group 7. Are you there, Dave? You might still be muted. You might need to unmute yourself.
That's better. Here I am now. Yeah.
Right.
I think
great.
The summary of the situation, what we realised was the knock-on effect of climate change, how something thousands of miles away from you, how it ultimately affects you locally. And if you can understand how it affects you locally, the flip side of that would be how it affects you worldwide. And also the 1.5 degrees factor that we've learned over the weekend, that doesn't sound a huge amount, but we've learned how much of the dial, how much that damage that's done over the years, and how difficult it's going to be to change that back, despite the fact that it's only 1.5 degrees, and it's important how we don't allow it to get any more than that. And I suppose summarising the both parts of that is climate change, it's a complex issue, but ultimately it needs measurable, sort of tangible, simple solutions, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much. And again, that drawing parallels between what we do and what we see locally, but actually this is global, and this is something that we're all part of. And last group to feedback will be group 8, and I think we've got Suzanne there.
Hi, yes. Well, from watching some of the presentations today, we talked about the importance of being inclusive and of considering the impacts on everyone, but also thinking about how information can reach everyone. The schools can educate our children, It was really nice to hear from those. But how do we make sure that everyone else can access the knowledge that they need? There does seem to be an issue in that you have to dig for information. For example, about something as simple as home energy. So better information routes would be a good thing. The challenge is to change our behaviours. So given COVID and lockdown, people are feeling that their freedoms are being compromised and restricted already. And some of the changes that we're talking about, for example, air travel, tourism, would make them feel that way even more so. So only knowledge can really incentivize people to change. And it's how to manage that and how to get across the message that there will have to be sacrifices and life.
So yeah, and that's perfect, because this is what we're going to be moving on to, about those lots of difficult trade-offs that are going to have to be made. And if we think back to the question, how do we do that both in a fair way but also an effective way as well? So bringing everyone along on that journey. Thank you all very much. I think really interesting points made there, and leaves us on a nice sense that actually really deep and thoughtful conversations going on in these groups. I'm going to hand back to Kelly now, and really just to start winding up for the day.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kaela, and thank you to everyone that gave feedback there. I mean, it was really clear just sitting back and listening to that you've all really been engaging in the conversations and with the content. So thank you for giving this your attention and for having such brilliant chats, and especially for our first weekend. So long may this continue. So it does bring me to kind of start bringing this meeting to a close, but there's a couple more things just to share before we do that. So first of all, just a reminder that we're going to be back together on the 12th and 13th of December, where we'll be having a weekend looking at the current climate. And we're going to be focusing on things like establishing the current business as usual situation. We're going to consider what our starting point is and what change is currently occurring. And you're going to build really on what we've started this weekend, some of those critical themes around mitigation, adaptation, fairness and inequality, and effectiveness and change. So we're going to be building on all the good stuff that we've been discussing already. I am just going to hand over to someone called Evelyn, who is from the research team, who's just going to share a little bit of information with us about the research before it comes back to me. And then we hear from Josh, who is one of the conveners, just to close off the meeting. So we're just going to be online for a couple more minutes. But Evelyn, over to you briefly.
Thanks, Kelly. Yes, hi everyone, and well done for completing the first weekend of Scotland's Climate Assembly. You've all worked really hard, and before you go off and enjoy the rest of the weekend, there is just one final but important thing to do, and that is to complete the end of weekend research survey. So you'll find the link to complete the survey on the Members Hub or online hub, but we can also get that link directly to you if that's any easier. So the survey is really important for us to understand what's working well and what could be improved. And it also helps us to understand if the process is fair and balanced. And that's a really important part of citizens' assemblies. So really important to say that your responses are anonymous, and so you'll not be identifiable in anything that you say, and only the research team will have access to that data. So we do want absolute honesty. Please feel free to tell us exactly how things are feeling for you. A big thank you to those that have already signed up to the research. Just a reminder that this survey is different to the one that you would have completed before coming to the assembly this weekend. And for those of you that have still to sign up, do remember that there is information about the research via that same link on the online hub for the end of weekend research survey. So for the most part, we're not asking you to do anything different to what you're already doing as an assembly member. And hopefully, with the small exception of requests to complete the online survey, you won't even know that we're here. But do remember that consent is an ongoing process, so we'll always ask you before, for example, joining your breakout rooms, and make sure that you're happy for us to do that. So please do take 10 minutes now just to complete the end of weekend research survey and get in touch with the support team or myself if you've got any questions, and we really do look forward to seeing you at the next weekend.
Brilliant, thank you very much, Evelyn. So yeah, just a reminder there as well of the online hub. So if you want to look at any of the videos, any of the materials that you've engaged with this weekend, again, kind of look at them at your own pace, please do go online. All that stuff is there for you to engage with at your own pace, as I said. And if you have any questions at all, please do get in touch with the support team. Really happy to help. Okay, well, that's it from me this weekend. Thank you again to everyone for taking part and everyone that supported this weekend to happen. It just leaves me now to hand over to Josh, who's going to say a final few words to close the weekend. Josh, over to you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Just wanted to kind of wrap this up just by saying a massive thank you to you all for working so hard all weekend on this. It's been great to listen to some of the feedback from all the different sessions. It's clear there's been some really constructive conversations happening, and thank you from myself and Ruth, the other co-convener, all of the team. I just also wanted to add before we wrap up that we're going to have a drop-in session tomorrow evening at 6 p.m, which is going to be sort of an informal chat with myself and Ruth as the conveners, and it just gives you guys the opportunity, if you want to ask any questions or give any feedback that we can kind of help try and put into action for you. That's not compulsory, just for anyone that wants to have a chat with me and Ruth. So if I don't see you tomorrow, look very much forward to seeing you all at the next meeting in December. And thanks again for all your hard work this weekend.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Josh. That's us. Thanks, everyone. Take care.